This happened to me in October of 2018. I was 24, living alone in a one-bedroom apartment in Southeast Portland. That fall, I'd started hiking every weekend to deal with anxiety after a bad breakup. On Saturday, October 20th, I woke up at 7:30 to a gray, drizzly morning, temperature in the low 40s. I put on thermal underwear, black cargo pants, a gray Columbia rain jacket with the hood, and my old Merrell Moab boots that were finally broken in. I made coffee in a stainless steel travel mug, grabbed a ham and cheese sandwich I'd made the night before, and left the apartment at 8:15. Stopped at the Shell on 82nd for gas and a second large coffee because I still felt half asleep. I took Highway 26 east toward Mount Hood. The plan was the Salmon River Trail, about an hour and 40 minutes from my place. I'd done it twice before and never saw more than a handful of people, especially this late in the season. I reached the trailhead parking lot at 9:55. Two other vehicles, a silver Subaru and a white Tacoma, both empty. I parked at the far end, locked my truck, checked that I had water, phone at 68%, small knife in the side pocket of my pack just in case. The drizzle was steady but light, the kind that soaks you over hours instead of minutes. The trail starts flat along the river, then climbs gently. Smell of wet cedar and moss was thick. The only sounds were the river and my boots on mud. I passed the older couple around the 2-mile mark, exchanged quick hellos, kept moving. After that, nothing. Just me and the trees. At roughly the 4.5-mile point, I noticed the first set of prints. Large boot treads, deeper than mine, cutting across the trail from the uphill side and disappearing into the brush. I only noticed because they crossed right over my own tracks. Figured someone had stepped off to pee or look at something. Didn't think much of it. 10 minutes later, I saw them again, parallel to the trail about 25 feet up the slope, hidden behind sword ferns and deadfall. Same tread, same depth, moving exactly the same speed I was. I stopped dead, listened. Nothing but dripping water. I called out a casual, "Hey," in case it was another hiker. No answer. I started walking again, faster. Every few minutes, I'd glance up the hill. The prints kept appearing, fresh, always the same distance away. At one point, the trail switched back sharply, and I could see 50 yards uphill. Empty, just wet trunks and green. My breathing got shallow. I told myself it was nothing, just someone doing the same loop off-trail. But the prints never fell behind and never got ahead. Around mile 5, the trail crosses a shallow creek on stepping stones. I hopped across and looked back. The large boot prints came straight to the water's edge on the opposite bank and stopped. No prints on my side. No sign anyone had crossed. The drizzle had turned into a steady, cold rain. The edges of the prints were already softening. I stood there maybe 45 seconds, staring. Then I turned and started jogging. Not panicked, but a steady jog. The trail back felt longer than it had coming in. Every switchback, I checked the slope above me. Nothing moved. I didn't stop again until I reached the parking lot. The Subaru and Tacoma were gone. My truck sat alone under the dripping trees. I threw my pack in the passenger seat, started the engine, and pulled forward. As I rounded the first bend out of the lot, I looked in the rearview mirror. A man was standing exactly where my truck had been parked 10 seconds earlier. Tall, dark green rain jacket, hood up, face completely shadowed. He wasn't moving, just staring straight at my truck. I floored it. The road was slick. Tires spun for a second on wet gravel. I didn't check the mirror again until I hit the highway. When I finally did, the lot was empty. Summer of 2021. I just finished my freshman year at Penn State, and my two best friends from high school, Connor and Matt, talked me into a 4-day backpacking trip on the Black Forest Trail in northern Pennsylvania. We left early Thursday morning, June 17th. It was already 78 degrees by 9 when we parked at the little gravel lot off Route 44. I was wearing khaki cargo shorts, a gray Penn State hoodie tied around my waist, and my broken-in Salomon shoes. We each had 45-liter packs, 2 tents, and way too much food. First day was normal. 12 miles, hot, sweaty, lots of bugs. We camped at a designated site near Pine Creek, ate freeze-dried pad thai, drank the warm beers we'd carried in, passed out by 10:30. Second day was hotter. We hit the vista overlook around 2:30, took pictures, kept moving. By the time we reached the clearing with 3 campsites, it was almost dark. We took the middle site, set up the tents, built a small fire, ate hot dogs, told the same stories we'd told since sophomore year of high school. Killed the fire around 11:15. I was sharing a 2-person tent with Connor. Matt had his solo tent 15 feet away. I fell asleep fast. Woke up later, no idea what time, to the sound of slow footsteps circling our tent. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause on the dry pine needles. I figured Matt was up wandering. Whispered his name, nothing. The footsteps finished one full circle. Moved to Matt's tent, stopped. I heard his zipper go down and up again, very slowly. Then the footsteps started away from the clearing. Same deliberate pace, heading north into the trees until the sound faded completely. I lay there, waiting for Matt to come back. He never did. Connor whispered from his side of the tent, "You awake?" I said, "Yeah." He said he'd been awake the whole time, and the steps never came from Matt's tent first. They started somewhere deeper in the woods and came toward us. We sat up. Connor clicked on his headlamp, red mode, so it wouldn't ruin our night vision. We unzipped the door slowly and looked out. The fire was dead, just a faint orange glow under ash. Matt's tent was zipped tight. We could see the shape of him sitting upright inside. Connor called his name quietly. No answer. Called louder. Nothing. Connor crawled out, walked over, tapped the nylon. Matt's zipper flew down, and he stuck his head out, eyes huge. He whispered, "That wasn't me." We all stood there in socks, breathing hard, listening. The forest was completely silent. Then the footsteps started again, same slow rhythm, coming back from the exact direction they'd left. Crunch, pause, crunch, getting closer. Connor switched his headlamp to white, aimed it into the trees. The beam shook. The footsteps reached the edge of the clearing and stopped. We waited. 10 seconds, 20, then a single cough, wet and low, maybe 30 feet away. Matt whispered he was getting his knife. Connor told him to shut up and stay still. The footsteps started again, but this time they didn't come toward us. They moved sideways, parallel to the tree line, circling the entire clearing. Every time Connor swept the light across the trunks, there was nothing, just wet bark and darkness. The sound went all the way around us once, slow, never closer than the first trees. When it reached the trail heading south, it kept going until we couldn't hear it anymore. We stood outside the tents until the sky started getting light around 5:30, packed everything in under 20 minutes, and hiked out fast. When we reached the parking lot, there was one perfect boot print pressed into the dust, right against my driver's side door. Deep tread, size 13 maybe. No prints leading to it, no prints leading away.